Growing up, I never understood the kids who loved horror movies. Why would you choose to be scared? That's like the worst feeling that you could possibly feel. When I watch a movie, I want to watch something funny. Something that makes me feel good. I don't want to lie in bed at night not wanting to close my eyes because the second I do, I see some ghost or alien or monster's face waiting to eat me the second I reach my hand over the edge of my bed. These days, I understand it. Horror movies are fun. They're exciting. But now I kind of have the opposite problem. I rarely see a movie that genuinely scares me. Sure, there might be a jump scare that gets me now and then, or a movie that makes me feel really uncomfortable or unnerved, but genuinely scared? That's pretty hard to do. But still, when they work, and they are some of the most memorable movie watching experiences that I have. So here are the 4 scariest horror movies that I have ever seen. Emphasis on the I and seen. First movie. Now, I'm sure most of you don't think of Shaun of the Dead as a horror movie first and foremost. It's a comedy, horror comedy. And yes, if I throw Shaun of the Dead on right now, I won't be scared really through any of its runtime. But there was a moment in time where this movie scared the ever-living shit out of me. One of my best friends, who I've known since childhood, used to live in El Cerrito. That's not important. And he was one of these friends that whenever I hung out with him, it was exciting because I got to do things that I never really got to do when I was at home. We'd go to the park, light things on fire, take stuff from 7-Eleven, and his dad was always torrenting R-rated movies for us to watch during sleepovers. And one of these nights, the whole family decided that it would be smart for us to watch Shaun of the Dead. I don't know exactly how old I was, but this was during Obama's first term, so I could be anywhere from like 6 to 12. I think I was around 8 years old though. And they had warned me that this movie might be a little bit scary, but of course I gotta play it cool in front of the fam. I gotta look like a tough guy. I have a reputation to maintain here. So of course I act like I don't care. And to be honest, for the first hour 15, it's just a good time. Of course, there's blood and guts and gore, but at that age, I was already sort of used to that in movies. But none of it is really taken all that seriously. It's all just faceless zombies getting bashed to bits. But the moment all the characters converge at the Winchester bar, I feel like Eggers takes a little bit of a tonal shift and starts taking the consequences of their situation, of their reality, a lot more seriously. It's the moment where these characters realize that they might not actually get out of this alive. And it's the moment that we, the audience, sort of realize that too. And there's this one moment in particular that I was just not prepared to see as a little 8-year-old boy watching this in the middle of the night. For those that have seen it, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Oh, spoilers for this movie also. Someone got mad that I spoiled Heretic. Like, bro, shut up. Right. The annoying husband character backs himself up all the way to the edge of the glass, and the zombies outside the glass pierce through, grab him, and rip him apart. Their fingers open up his stomach and they start tearing out his intestines, and I did not want to see any of this. I think there's something about the practicality of the effects that just looked and felt so real to me. I remember in the moment feeling nauseous, like I wanted to throw up. Zombies aren't usually monsters that I was generally afraid of, but the way it was shot made it feel so real that for a split second, I believed that well, there really might be zombies in this world. Flash forward a few hours, and it's the middle of the night. Everybody is asleep. Me and my brother, who is also at this sleepover, are sleeping in their living room. And their living room is pretty exposed. There's this long hallway that goes down to my friend's bedroom, and it's also right next to the kitchen. And behind us, there's this big window leading into the street. So we're just sleeping on the floor, and I can't sleep at all. My adrenaline's pumping. I'm too scared. It's not gonna happen. But the worst part is, I really have to pee. The only bathroom is all the way down their dark, spooky hallway. And I look over to the right, and it's like one of those vertigo dolly zoom shots where the hallway just seems to extend further and further away from me. Now, I know this seems ridiculous. Like, I could have just gone up and walked to the bathroom. But I knew the second that I got up to go pee, those zombies would grab me from behind and rip my intestines out. I think about waking my brother up so that he could walk me down to the hallway because I'm too scared to use the bathroom. But I can't let him know that I'm scared like that. So I don't do it, of course. And I just wait and wait and wait, unable to go to sleep because of fear and also me having to go to the bathroom, and unable to go to the bathroom because I'm just deathly afraid of being torn inside out. So the only logical thing for me to do, it's a little embarrassing, but in the middle of the El Cerrito suburbs, in the middle of my good friend's living room, I may or may not have left a few yellow stains on their couch cushion. This was a horrible night for me, but in retrospect, I'm really glad it happened because You know, when I was about 12, 13, 14, Edgar Wright movies were my favorite movies in the world. I would always watch Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz. I was a huge Baby Driver fan. I know it kind of gets like hate now. It was a good time. In the moment, it was terrible. Now I just admitted to about 1,000 people that I pissed myself. Next movie. I'm sure a few of you are like, oh my god, dude, you're talking about the scariest movies you've ever seen and you're going Shaun of the Dead and Smile? Shut up. I know those movies are not that scary, right? And I've seen Smile twice, and it's not like that scary of a movie. It's just a studio horror film. Like, it's as scary as any studio horror film. I get it. But hey, look, these are the 4 scariest movies I've seen. Meaning that these are the 4 scariest horror movie watching experiences that I've had, right? You see what I'm saying? And for whatever reason, when I saw Smile alone at the AMC Bay Street IMAX theater, high out my mind, in the front row where nobody else is around me, for whatever reason, that moment was terrifying. Just to give you some context, I know I kind of already did, I go to see this movie Smile by myself because I don't have any friends, and I think to myself, you know what's a really great idea? I'm just gonna get freaking baked right now. I'm gonna get stoned. So I zoot up in my car and walk over to the theater. This might have been the opening weekend, I'm not entirely sure. But the AMC Bay Street doesn't always get super packed, especially for a movie like Smile. And on top of that, I was sitting in that like first section. You know how there's the front section, then there's a walkway, then the back section. I was sitting in that first section, IMAX, near the front. The screen is huge. I'm looking up at it like this, and everything in my periphery is just Smile. And look, I gotta be honest, there's something that gets me about these creepy people smiling. Had I been next to my friends, I would have tanked it. I would have been like, this shit ain't nothing. But there I was alone. Nobody was there to hold my hand. Nobody was there to save me. And look, throughout most of it, it really wasn't that bad. Like I mentioned, the jump scares always kind of get me because of course they do. It's like if I would just be, see, I get you. But there's that one moment at the end of Smile, which I think is pretty famous now, where the monster opens up its jaw and releases this terrifying, huge, I don't know what to call it, sludge gore monster. And at that moment, the music is surging, the score is so loud, and I'm completely out of my mind. I remember looking up at that terrifying face, perspiring all the way down my brow. I wanted to get up and leave. While I didn't piss myself, it was still memorable because I kind of thought of myself as somebody that doesn't get scared at horror movies anymore. And then here's this random studio horror film that terrifies me. So I go and tell all my friends about it. You know, Smile was actually pretty scary. We should all go watch. And I take them to the movies and we see it again. And it was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. When you're not watching it in IMAX, high out of your mind, alone, in the front row, Smile really isn't all that scary. And I learned that the hard way. Bro, this is the movie that scared you? And yes, it was. And I'm embarrassed about it, but here I am telling all of you. Next movie. This uncontroversial 5-star masterpiece that's a great film for the whole family really scared me. It was a beautiful morning, actually. Me, my partner, and my friend, we all had a nice early morning breakfast brunch meal out in the beautiful Santa Barbara sun. Our spirits were high. We were full of that joie de vivre. And as we all wound down for the afternoon, we all thought, what better way to celebrate this wonderful morning than by watching Paolo Pasolini's 5-star uncontroversial masterpiece for the whole family, Salo. My friend was able to rush over to his apartment and grab his Criterion of this movie because of course he owned it. And yeah, we just threw it on. And while this movie isn't exactly scary in the traditional sense, it's arguably the most terrifying film that I've ever seen. Terrifying in the sense that it just shows you how low and how depraved humanity can be when power is left unchecked. And in its portrayal of that depravity, this movie is completely unflinching. I was joking that it's totally uncontroversial and you know, good for the whole family. Please do not watch this with your family. They will disown you. This director got murdered because he made this movie. I'm not totally familiar on the whole context of the making it or why he made it, but I know that Paolo Pasolini was a political activist and he was really critical of the fascist regime in Italy. And he made this movie as a sort of brutally honest portrayal of these fascist oligarchs and the terrible, horrible, depraved things that they do in an effort to criticize. But at the same time, one must wonder why it's necessary to depict all of these depraved things in an effort to criticize them. But I would say, well, you can't really understand how terrible it all is unless you see it with your own eyes. But that does not mean it is the movie to watch after an early morning brunch. I nearly threw up all of my eggs, bacon, and French toast. It was that disgusting. Terrible scenes of children. I don't even want to say. I feel like this video will instantly get banned. There's a lot of other great videos talking about this movie, so maybe I don't need to go too in depth into it, but for those that are familiar, you know what I'm talking about. This was not the right choice for the context or situation that we were all in. We should not have been watching this movie at noon after a nice sunny morning. I was literally moments away from throwing up. The structure of this movie has this rhythm where they have the old men, they all talk to all the children, they put the children through depraved situations, and then the woman sings and tells the story. And then it's just that, kind of in a loop, in a loop, in a loop, until it eventually ends by all the children being brutally murdered. Spoilers for Salo! But there is nothing I can truly say that will make you understand how disturbing and unnerving this film is without you actually watching it. While I don't want to recommend you watch this, I'm recommending you see it. But please, before you do, make sure that you're old enough to make sure that you're of the right mind and that this type of thing won't upset you, disturb you, or influence you too much, because movies are, powerful mediums. They can really change people's minds and brain chemistry. So I'm just, maybe I'm being a pussy by saying this, but just be careful. Next movie. Speaking of Chime, I just kind of made a short film that was a ripoff of Chime. Let me know if you want to see it when it's done. Chime has a special place in my heart because it was one of my first videos to really get taken by the algorithm and get shown to people, so I have a lot of appreciation for it that way. But that's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about why this is one of the most terrifying movies that I've ever seen. For me, I was flip-flopping between either picking this movie or Climax, because they both do the same thing for me. They are these wicked audio and visual experiences that sort of overwhelm your senses. The only difference is that Climax does it through overstimulation, whereas Chime does it through minimal stimulation. And I think it actually works in Chime's favor, because when these terrifying moments do happen, you've been so grounded in the reality of the film that they really jump out at you as these horrifying acts of unnatural, supernatural horror. So the only way to watch Chime, unless you torrent it like I haven't, is by renting or buying an NFT off of this Japanese, NFT site. For whatever reason, Kiyoshi Kurosawa was like, yeah, my next short film is a NFT, actually. I rented this NFT, and I watched it on my TV. NFT TV. With my headphones on, volume turned all the way up. And if you've seen this movie, you know that sound plays a crucial role in establishing the reality of his movies. I feel like they're so effective because they feel so real that when these horrifying things happen, they're just that much more heightened. For example, in Chime, there's not really a score. All the sound is diegetic, meaning that it's coming from the world of the movie. You can hear the AC running, you can hear the trains passing. And as I'm sitting here watching it at night with the headphones on, I feel like I'm in that space with the characters. Hold for siren. That sound lulls you into a false sense of, I don't know what to call this. Let me perform it for you. Instead of it being like very loud with a lot of score and like horror music that's like, and instead of being like that and you're like, ooh, what's gonna happen? Ooh. Chime is more like this. It's just quiet, but then all of a sudden you hear that chime and that diegetic music starts getting turned up and you feel your heart rate start to flutter, start to pick up, and the sweat starts forming around your cheeks and your breath starts going a lot faster. And that's when you know you're in the hands of a master filmmaker. I don't want to totally spoil Chime because, well, it came out only last year. Now I'm being kind of a hypocrite with the spoilers thing. Okay, he kills these girls, right? That's the scary part. He kills these girls. But the murders aren't really the horror. For me, the horror was how swiftly and easily the film transitions to this simple reality to a disturbed, unreal reality. It's one of those movies that as soon as you're done watching, you look around at your own world and everything starts to feel a little off, like everything isn't right. That unnerving feeling just sort of sinks into your skin, into your bones, and every single part of you just doesn't feel good. And I was so glad that this happened because, well, it let me know that I can still be scared by these films that come out. I can still be scared at horror movies when they're really effective at doing their jobs, and when I'm not totally baked, or I'm not 8 years old, or I'm not watching the most depraved movie of all time. All I really need is a good idea and good sound, and good images too. But really, more than anything, this exercise opened my eyes to the fact that 1, horror is really hard. 2, is that the most important thing when it comes to watching a scary movie are the circumstances that you're watching it in. With Shaun of the Dead, I was 8 years old. With Smile, I was at the front, alone, high out of my mind. With Salo, I had just come from this jovial, wonderful day. And with Chime, I had my headphones on, turned all the way up. I feel like a great example of this idea that I'm trying to communicate is the movie Skinamarink. I saw Skinamarink in the theaters. And to be honest, it was the most boring, unscary movie that I've ever seen in my life. I was sitting next to my friends, and every single time a shot lingered on a ceiling or a wall for like 45 seconds, I just rolled my eyes and looked over at them and cracked a joke. But I watched it again, alone, on my laptop in the middle of the night. And for whatever reason, that experience transported me into the world. And I think it just made me realize that maybe it's unfair to judge a horror movie just based off of one viewing experience, because you never know how the circumstances around you are affecting that viewing. I like to say that these horror movies don't really scare me anymore, but maybe I'm just not watching them in the right time or place with the right people or the right brain chemistry. So please let me know what your scariest horror movie experiences are. I made a post about it a few days ago. Some of my favorites: crowd abduction scene in Jordan Peele's Nope. Personally, the scariest scene in Nope for me is that second time it cuts to Gordy's and we're slowly moving through the backstage room. Bugabug 3570. Okay, lame answer, and I don't even know if this movie is considered horror, but the ghost scare in Parasite fucked me up so bad. That is not a lame answer. I remember when I first saw that shot, and I know what you're talking about, when they cut to the they cut to that wide shot and then you see that scary man's eyes peek up. When I first saw that shot, that was terrifying. It was such an effective use of horror. For its sheer viciousness and sudden realistic brutality, nothing has ever unnerved me quite like The Green Room. I've been wanting to make a video on The Green Room ever since I watched it a few months ago. That movie completely changed the way I see dogs on the street, unfortunately. It wasn't Baxter, it was Green Room. As a kid, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Okay, definitely. My dad always says that's the scariest movie he's ever seen. That's a wrap on this video. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know your scariest horror movie experiences. Yeah, I hope you have a good day, especially if you're watching this in the morning at 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and you have this beautiful, bright light. As soon as that happens, that's when you know it's time to watch Salo, get baked, see Chime, and then piss your pants and shit and fart. All right, later, bye, love you, subscribe.